Welcome back to the Transform Your Mind to Transform Your Life video podcast. This is Life Coach Myrna Young, and you're listening to 5-Minute Fridays with Coach Myrna. Today, I want to teach on the topic, some people are in your life for a reason. And I want to use as my foundational story, the Bible story of Jonah. So you probably heard it several times before in Sunday school, but when I was a young child, girl, whatever, I would dream about being in the belly of the fish. And, I only concentrated on the fact that, Jonah was swallowed up by a fish and spit out on Nineveh, which is where he's supposed to go. But I want to expand your mind today because I actually heard it from my pastor and I decided to teach it to you. So here it goes. So the Bible story of Jonah, Jonah heard from God that he wanted him to go preach a message of repentance to the people of Nineveh. Jonah refused because he believed the people of Nineveh deserved to be punished. So he booked a ticket on a ship going in the opposite direction to get as far away from Nineveh as possible. Hey, you can't run from God, right? First lesson. So God caused a storm and then whispered in the ear of the sailors that Jonah was the cause of the storm and that if they threw him overboard, they would survive the storm. Hey, listen. They threw him overboard. I don't know what they thought when they threw him overboard. I don't know how far he was from land. If they thought he was going to swim or if they just felt that they were going to throw him to his death. But anyway, God then spoke to a whale and prepared the whale to swallow Jonah whole and not digest him. So Jonah was in the belly of the whale for 3 days until he realized that his disobedience was the reason for him being in the belly of the whale. God will let you stew and come to your own decision when you mess up, right? Nobody else is going to tell you. That's why he gave you a conscience. So after he realized that he had done wrong and God was punishing him, he prayed and asked God for mercy and agreed to complete his assignment. God then told the whale again where to drop Jonah off in Nineveh, the place where he was supposed to go in the first place. Yeah. I'm sure that, you've had a similar situation where you fought it, right? And ended up having to go to the place that you were supposed to go in the first place, right? Okay, so the purpose of me using this story is to highlight that some people are only in your life for a reason and not for a lifetime. I remember the first time I heard that some people are in life for a reason, some people are in your life for a season, and some people are in your life for a lifetime. And it's very true. But we do not understand the concept. So the whale's only purpose in this story was to swallow Jonah, spin him around in his belly for 3 days or so, and then drop him off when he came to his senses. God uses some unusual people to bring us to our senses, even a whale. So when the whale dropped Jonah off, there were no tears. They never saw each other again, right? Because the whale was there for a reason and he did his job. Sometimes in life, we have a tendency to turn relationships that are only meant to be for a season or a reason into forever relationships. And that is why we suffer, because these relationships have passed their expiration date like spoiled milk. Now, here is the life lessons that we can glean from this story that I want to share with you today. Number one, God is in charge. We have a purpose and an assignment to our life. And even though God gave us free will, he still expects you to complete your assignment. And sometimes when you're being disobedient, he takes matter into his own hands. Number 2, in order for you to complete your assignments, he puts people in your life for a reason. But because of our psychological makeup, we fall in love with the people who are only supposed to be in our lives for a reason. The whale swallowed Jonah, as I mentioned, and transported him to where he needed to be. When the whale dropped off Jonah, that was the end of the entanglement. You guys heard that word before, right? Sometimes an entanglement is for a purpose. It is not supposed to lead to marriage or kids. Ask Jada Pinkett, who made this word popular. She correctly called her affair an entanglement. It was something you come together for a short little time for a purpose, for a reason, right? And then you say your goodbyes. The reason we suffer is that we do not realize that some people come into our life for a reason and some for a season, and we try to make our relationships last longer than they were intended to do. Number 3, the third lesson that we can learn from this story is that God spoke directly to the whale and not to Jonah. Can you believe that? When I heard this, I was surprised. Nobody has ever pointed that out to me before. I've never heard this before, but my pastor did. And it's true. You know, God told the whale to swallow Jonah, and he told the whale to vomit him up when Jonah had come to his senses. Many of us feel badly when we're vomited up and left alone, but we forgot that we were carried to the other side. Maybe that man helped you go back to school. Maybe he provided for you and your children when their father walked out and left you penniless. He was there for a season, your winter season. And a reason was to get you through to the other side. So when he leaves, because he's fulfilled his purpose, you feel that there's something wrong with you. But there's nothing wrong with you. Jonah didn't go asking the whale why he vomited him up. He didn't feel unworthy because the whale did not want to eat him. You know, I read an interview a few weeks back from actress Emma Thompson, and she said that when she found out that her husband was having an affair, you know, she never felt so unlovable and so unworthy of love in her life. How many of us has been there? You know, when we are cheated on, we feel that there's something wrong with us. We feel unlovable. You know, Halle Berry said it best, and I will actually never forget what she said. She said that David Justice made her feel like a gum under his shoes. You know, nobody can make us feel like a gum under his shoes. That is what we feel. That is our own thoughts. He was just being David Justice. Maybe he was no longer in love and he was all about himself, but how we feel is our responsibility. And that's how she felt, because she had no self-esteem, maybe because he didn't love her anymore. Hey, you know, you gotta love yourself. You can't make other people love you. So if they don't love you, hey, move on. You got to realize that men don't cheat because there's something wrong with you. They cheat because there's something wrong with them. And maybe God is setting you free. Accept it. You know, don't look so hard at the closed door, because then you wouldn't see the open door, right? Have no fear that you will find your forever love. Be patient. You will show up when you least expect it. Your failed relationships were there for a reason. God used them to prepare you for your forever love. We learn from every experience what to do, what not to do. Now, I have an episode on what to do in the meantime when you are waiting on your forever love. So go ahead and, download that and listen to that. And there's some things that you got to do. In fact, I have a couple of episodes. One is what to do in your forever love, and the other one is what floor are you on when you're waiting, because there's some work that you've got to do to be ready. But what I wanted to leave with you today by pointing out the story of Jonah in the belly of the whale is that the whale was in Jonah's life for a reason, and that reason was to get him to where he needed to be. He was being disobedient and tried to run from his purpose, but God reeled him in, brought him back. And I want you to take that analogy and plunk it in your life, right? People are there for a reason. They're there for a season. Not everybody is supposed to walk with you hand in hand until old age. So accept that and enjoy the process. Enjoy waiting on your forever love. All right. Well, listen, guys, thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of 5 Minute Fridays with Coach Myrna. I hope to see you back here next week, same time, for another episode. Until then, namaste.